Hi, and thank you so much for joining us again. We got another installment of the illustration process for the book Mortimer Goes with the Flow, available through Pisces Rising. Link is in the description if you want to see how the whole thing turned out. If you're new to this channel and the series, I wanted to give you a quick little rundown of how this whole thing sort of came together. I took actual physical swatches of watercolor, scanned them in, and 600 dpi, and then from there I drew digitally in Photoshop, transparent layers of course, and then I dropped in the color swatches behind the drawings. As you can see, it's quite a bit of rough texture with the paper, just the way it is. Try to keep it as clean as I could, and then the fun part actually was cutting out, as you can see with these little fish here, cutting out the excess paint. And then what you end up having, obviously, is a lot of physical texture that fills in a fairly clean digital line. If I had a light box, I would have probably done this whole thing physically, to be honest with you. I really enjoy the physicality of drawing, and drawing digitally, it's fun. It has amazing benefits, I'll be honest. The fact that you can actually erase cleanly is a big plus. As you can probably tell by watching these videos, I make a lot of decisions and mistakes. I like to consider them alternative decisions, if you don't mind. And having the ability to actually delete things and erase cleanly is a huge plus. The resolution of this obviously is a little bit more pixelated. I'm not really sure why it is, but rest assured the book itself, because I was looking at a proof the other day, is perfect. It's the color rendition, the line, all that stuff is great, but everything about it was pretty on point, I gotta say. So here we go with a nice double page spread. I had great time with this one. There's another one as well that we'll be getting to. I really like the double page spreads, and I think it's because even though this is an 8.5 by 8.5 book, and it's essentially a square format, the double page spreads automatically kick it into a CinemaScope type aspect ratio. So here we go, we're just basically cutting out the fish, and as you can see, the texture is pretty good. In previous videos I had mentioned how bad the quality of the paper was that I was working on, and that actually is a good benefit. At least for this one, I really did enjoy the fact that there was such a unrefined texture, to put it politely, of the paper. I believe I got it on a whim. It was not that expensive, and when I started to work with it, I noticed it was really kind of for a specific audience, shall we say. Don't want to say it was bad, but it just was not arches by any stretch of the imagination. However, if I did use arches for this, it would have looked completely different. I mean, you would not be looking at these ridges, you would not be looking at the texture. Arches is phenomenal stuff, but it's a bit serious, I think. So here we basically have essentially just the background, which is one massive bluish purple swatch. And I dropped it in, expanded it. I did scan everything at 600 dpi, and because of that, we're able to pull things wider, expand it. Obviously, shrinking things down is not that big of an issue. Resolution tends to tighten up when you do that, so a lot of the flaws get hidden. And that's one of the biggest things, is work big, shrink down. Everything gets tighter, cleaner. So the fun part is basically deleting all this excess pink, and it's actually fun, I gotta say. The drawing of it, the laying out, it's all fun too, but at the same time, when you're basically running downhill like this, it's good times. As I had mentioned in other previous videos, essentially what you are seeing is pretty close to finalized. As you can imagine, I didn't always record every single thing that I had done, and when you go through it and you get a proof and you're looking at it and you're like, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And obviously when you're looking at proofs, you get different ideas. Sometimes, when you look at it, you're like, the color's just a little too different on this one. I'm a big fan of basically taking your work in color and then just running it down to a Kinko's. or Office Depot, wherever it is that you can get a good laser print. I highly recommend doing that, and then you can come up with like a little mock-up of the book. Take a look at it, see how the colors play with each other, see how it physically feels as you open it and flip through the pages. It's always nice to see that, to see, well, you know, if the crease is here and the binding is going to be here, is this double page spread going to be worth it? Is it going to look nice? Is there something that's going to get cut off? It definitely can happen. It's happened to me a couple times. And hopefully you can sell those double page spreads as prints sometime and everybody can see it as it is. Once again, I put in the text just to sort of keep it there, and then I put a little fade in the bottom. Believe that is actually how it looks in the final book. I did put a fade. I did not want to have any sort of color bleeding into the actual text, so in a couple of the pages we basically put in gradient white. Well, that about wraps it up for this one. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Again, the final book is available through Pisces Rising Press, and the link is in the description. I hope you're doing well. Once again, be like water, my friends.